silver is going to skyrocket. In my speech, I suggested that Michael Oliver, who writes the Momentum Structural Analysis, I think his ultimate target's 250 on silver.
250?
250, yeah. And I believe it.
When Eric Sprott speaks, smart investors listen. With decades of experience in the precious metals market, he's seen it all. Booms, busts, and everything in between. Eric Sprott just dropped a bombshell. And if you own silver and gold or plan to invest, you need to hear this. Stay tuned, because this could change everything.
I don't think it will have any impact on gold and silver, other than one perhaps. The big impact it might have is that the whole world economy is going to shrink if we've all got to deal with tariffs, okay? It's going to be a nightmare for everybody. So if the world economy shrinks, maybe the ultimate bear market evolves quicker, and a bear market is the best thing that could ever happen to gold and silver. Those stocks go up when everyone realizes nothing's working, because gold and silver will be working. Well, I'm sure gold will be well north of 3,000, and I would hope that silver will be north of $50, and I would think the stocks could easily put on another 25 to 50% this year. It's my hope. I think silver is going to skyrocket. In my speech, I suggested that Michael Oliver, who writes the Momentum Structural Analysis, I think his ultimate target's 250 on silver.
250?
250, yeah. And I believe it. And there was another gentleman, Don Durrett, who analyzes small cap mining companies, and his target was 500. And I can see both being entirely possible here, because I know the targets on gold were like 8 to 10,000. Silver used to trade at 15 to 1 to gold. It's produced, you interviewed Keith Neumeyer. He said we only produce 7 ounces of silver for every ounce of gold. Why is the price 90 to 1? Because it's been manipulated for the last 50 years. And those guys are all still short. They can't get off their shorts. The demand for silver in the March contract that just expired, which is open for delivery, not expired, but open for delivery, they nominate for 76 million ounces of silver for the March contract. We don't even produce 76 million ounces a month. But on COMEX, that never used to be a physical exchange, they're delivering a month's supply of silver. That's a new entrant in the game that already has a deficit of 200 million ounces. So there's just no doubt in my mind we will breach the resistance at 33, and we will just ultimately fly here.
You're talking about the sort of gold-silver ratio and how it's much wider than perhaps it should be. I mean, we go back 200, 250 years. Adam Smith and the Wealth of Nations, I think he said it's about 13 to 1, 15 to 1.
That's exactly what it was. Yeah.
Do you see that really contracting?
Yeah, that's what it should be. It should go to at least 15 to 1 or 12 to 1, which it was as a currency. It'll go lower if we're only producing 7 ounces of silver versus an ounce of gold. It could go to 7 to 1. It's probably going to overshoot one way or another once it breaks the entrapment that it's in. Well, I think there's shortages. Guys are having tough times making deliveries. In fact, I'm a believer that when we all point out that SLV is losing ounces and this guy's losing ounces, I think it's the dealers and banks buying the shares and redeeming them to make delivery on the COMEX. That there's lots of demand for gold and silver. I mean, we get lineups in China and India, and South Korea is running out of silver, and there's lots of demand in Europe. The demand is not as robust at the retail level in North America, but that can change in a dime. So I think once we break through 33, I think we'll have a big run here. Well, it's fun to go on a search. I describe my investment policy as stealing value. So you're always looking, and you know that the market is so massively imperfect that if you can find something, particularly in precious metals these days, they're so inexpensive. I mean, I pretty well every company I would look at, if I was to look at their net asset value versus their stock price, and these are smaller companies, they're probably all 10 to 1. It could be a 10-bagger. If it ever makes its NAV, which is a conservative calculation, it could go up by 10 times. Well, what if the deposit gets bigger? What if the price goes up? The price of the product goes up? it could be an easy 20 bagger. So that's a nice opportunity to create value for the family office. That must have been a fake picture, because I can't imagine me with a wheelbarrow full of gold. They were making fake pictures back then. But obviously, I was a believer, okay, and I was a proponent and outspoken about it. You realize that, well, gold had gone down a lot. I mean, what was the high? Was it like $1,000 in 1980, and here we are in 2000, it was $250? I mean, well, if that goes back up again, maybe a little extra, and it did. It went up to almost $1,900. There can be one hell of a payday. And of course, I was also a great believer that the stock market was very, very vulnerable, which of course it was. And that was the biggest takeaway from it, that, NASDAQ went down 80% back then. So you had to avoid that as a portfolio manager.
Do you see the stock market as being vulnerable today? People talk about the need for a massive correction.
Absolutely. I'm short the market now. I'm only short about 5% of my portfolio, but the favorite names like Nvidia and Amazon and Apple, and some of those I've got lots of losses on still. But when I look at the monetary policies we had, the zero interest rates for whatever number of years, I mean, it's just so ridiculous. And even the sort of gong world that we have now, and here we are sitting here on March 3rd, and there's going to be theoretically tariffs on March 4th, and none of us know what to think of it, really.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? I don't do them all quickly, but I'm a great believer if I see a company that's announced some drill result and I go to their website and look at their presentation, I can reasonably quickly assess how opportune the opportunity is vis-a-vis all the other ones, okay? And I'm looking all the time, every day. I look at 2 or 3 companies, probably more than that. Of course, I know a lot of them already. The fact that they're in silver and gold, of course, that's the first check mark. One of the other check marks I love, by the way, is that nobody follows them. No brokers follow them. That's a perfect one. And because I'm just assessing what the ore body's telling me, okay? And I know the price of the product. Now, how good's the ore body? So I don't think it takes a lot of time to realize how undervalued it could be. And I'm a patient investor. So, as I say, when I look at a NAV, I can find lots of stocks trading at 1/10 of NAV. And the NAV calculation is typically a very conservative calculation. They take the price, and like a lot of guys use 2,000 as the price for gold. Well, it's 2,900. That means the NAV is twice what you're telling me it is, just based on price. So it's not too hard to find things that are of interest. I don't lock myself at 9.9 for sure, okay? 19.9 is another question, because when you go through 20, you're only allowed so many transactions in a year. I think it's 5 transactions in a year. So you better make them significant. You don't want to be going out and buying 5 by 100 shares unless you're 5 transactions. You're maybe hoping that some strategic guy's going to sell if you want to go higher, and or the company wants to do an issue. And I have lots of companies. I'm through 20, and lots of companies through 10. I don't have a plan to sell them. Typically when I buy, I don't have a plan to sell them. I have a plan to let them appreciate and grow and have someone buy them from me. Somebody come in and buy them from me, some takeover. I don't know how fearful they were. All I know is I had a hell of a run in Kirkland Lake. I took a lot out of it. I wanted to redeploy it in the area that I have most interest in. I typically don't buy big stocks. So the field I'm in is like less, 100 million or less is typically what I would do. So, if you had 100 million to invest and you got to buy little guys, you need to buy a lot of little guys to get your money back in. So in the case of silver, and there are very few silver stocks, there's very few. So I might have been a little bit freewheeling when it came to buying silver stocks. Just because I just have this great view of silver. Hopefully I get to look back and say, well, that was easy.
Silver's future is unfolding right now, and the smartest investors are already making their moves. Don't get left behind. Smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss these critical updates. The next big opportunity could be right around the corner. Will you be ready? soon.